Mercedes just did something in Japan that could change Formula One completely. They didn't just win. They dominated. 3 races. 3 victories. Total control of the championship. But that's not the shocking part. The real story is hidden in the data. Because while every other team is losing power during the race, Mercedes isn't. Their car delivers energy perfectly. Every lap. Every straight. And here's the detail that's raising alarms. Their driver admitted. He doesn't even manage the battery anymore. The car does it for him. That should not be possible. And now teams are asking one question. Is Mercedes using something nobody else has figured out yet? Or something they're not supposed to? Because if this is legal, the championship might already be over. But if it's not, this could become the biggest controversy of the season. Subscribe now, because what Mercedes is doing behind the scenes might be far more powerful than anyone expected. At first, it looked like another dominant win. Clean, controlled, predictable. Antonelli takes victory. Russell still brings in strong points. Mercedes leaves Japan with maximum authority. That's the surface. But underneath, something very different was happening. Because this race wasn't won on strategy alone. It wasn't just tire management. It wasn't even just raw pace. It was control. Absolute control over something most drivers constantly fight. Energy. From the very first laps, you could see it. Antonelli didn't rush. He didn't force overtakes. He didn't burn through battery trying to recover positions. He just waited. And then, he moved forward. Smoothly. Effortlessly. And that's where the first question appears. Because in modern Formula One, that behavior is unusual. Drivers are always managing something. Battery levels. Deployment modes. Harvesting zones. It's a constant mental load. Every lap, every corner, every straight. But Antonelli? He wasn't doing any of that. He was just driving. Fully focused. Fully committed. And that's not normal. Because when a driver doesn't need to think about energy, it means something else is doing it for him. And he confirmed it. The car handles it. Now stop for a second. Because this is where everything changes. If the system is managing energy automatically, then the driver is no longer limited by decision making. No hesitation. No compromise. Just maximum performance, all the time. And that creates a gap. Not just in speed. In consistency. Because while others are balancing attack and saving, Mercedes is doing both at the same time. But here's where it becomes even more revealing. Look at the overtakes. They weren't desperate. They weren't risky. They were calculated. Precise. Timed perfectly at the end of straights. Exactly where energy deployment matters most. And every time, the car delivered. No drop in power. No hesitation. Just acceleration. Clean and repeatable. Lap after lap. And that's the key. Repeatability. Because one perfect overtake can happen. 2, maybe. But an entire race like that? That's not the driver. That's the system. But now comes the detail that's making engineers uncomfortable. Because when they analyzed the telemetry, they noticed something unusual. The W17 doesn't just deploy energy better. It never seems to run out at critical moments. And that shouldn't be possible. Because every car, at some point, hits the limit. That moment where the battery is empty. Where power drops. Where acceleration fades. It's called super clipping. And every team deals with it. Except, Mercedes barely does. Which means one thing. They are either recovering energy more efficiently, or deploying it more intelligently. Or both. And if it's both, then this is not just an upgrade. This is a completely different level of system control. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because this advantage is not isolated. It connects to everything else. Top speed. Better. Acceleration. Stronger. Tire degradation. Lower. All linked to one central idea. Energy efficiency. And this is why Mercedes looks so dominant. Not because they are the best in one area, but because they are the best in all of them at the same time. And that almost never happens in Formula One. Because performance always comes with trade-offs. More speed, less stability. More downforce, less straight-line performance. But Mercedes seems to have minimized those trade-offs. And that's what's raising questions. Because when a team suddenly removes limitations, people start looking for the reason. And after Japan, those questions are getting louder. Because if this is just brilliant engineering, then Mercedes has taken a massive step ahead. But if there's something more, something hidden inside the system, then this story is far from over. And what comes next could change everything. But now, we reach the part that's making teams nervous. Because up until this point, you could still explain everything. Better engineering. better integration, better execution. That's normal in Formula One. But what if it's not just that? Because when rivals started digging deeper, they noticed something else. The consistency is too perfect. Not just fast. Perfect. Same behavior every lap. Same energy delivery. Same performance profile. No fluctuations. No unexpected drops. And that's unusual. Because even the best systems in Formula One have variation. Temperature changes. Track evolution. Battery cycles. All of it affects performance. But the W17 looks almost unaffected. And that's where the suspicion begins. Because when performance becomes that stable, it usually means one thing: automation at a very high level. And this is where the word starts spreading inside the paddock. Software. Because managing energy manually will always create small inconsistencies. Human input is never perfect. But an automated system can be. Lap after lap. Corner after corner. Always optimizing. Always calculating. Always adjusting in real time. And if Mercedes has achieved that level, then they are not just ahead. They are operating differently. But here's where things get sensitive. Because Formula One doesn't just regulate hardware. It regulates software too. What the car can do. What it cannot do. How much assistance is allowed. Where the driver must stay in control. And if a system crosses that line, even slightly, it becomes controversial. Very quickly. Now, to be clear, there is no official protest. No confirmed violation. Nothing proven. But that's not how these stories begin. They start with questions. Small ones. Quiet ones. Asked behind closed doors. And after Japan, those questions are growing. Because when one team suddenly gains this level of advantage, others don't just accept it. They investigate it. They analyze every detail. Every trace of data. Every pattern. Looking for something? Anything? That explains the gap. And right now, the only explanation that fits everything is that Mercedes has found a way to remove one of the biggest limitations in Formula One: energy management. But here's the twist. If that's true, then this is not just about speed. It's about control. Because controlling energy perfectly means controlling the race. When to attack. When to defend. When to push. When to save. All decided automatically. And that changes the role of the driver. Not replacing them, but freeing them. Allowing them to focus only on performance. And that is a massive shift. But now comes the most important question of all. Where is the limit? Because if this system is within the rules, then Mercedes has simply outdeveloped everyone. And the rest of the grid will have to catch up. But if it's not, then what we're seeing right now is only temporary. Because Formula One has a history. Innovations that dominate until they are questioned. And then removed. And if that moment comes, everything changes again. But until then, Mercedes keeps winning, keeps dominating, keeps extending the gap. And with every race, the pressure on the rest of the grid increases. Because the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to stop. So now, the real question is no longer what Mercedes did in Japan. The real question is, how long can they keep doing it before someone steps in? And this is where the story reaches its most critical point. Because everything we've talked about so far still lives in the present. Japan. Performance. Data. But Formula One is never just about the present. It's about what happens next. Because when one team finds something like this, the entire grid reacts. Quietly at first. Then aggressively. And that process may have already started. Engineers from rival teams are not just watching races anymore. They're studying patterns. Looking at deployment curves. Analyzing where Mercedes gains time and how. Every straight. Every sector. Every lap. And the conclusion they're slowly reaching is uncomfortable. Because this is not something you copy overnight. This is not a new wing. Not a small upgrade. This is architecture. A complete system. And systems like that take months, sometimes years, to replicate. Which means one thing. Even if Mercedes did nothing from this point forward, they would still be ahead. And that's what creates panic. Because in Formula One, being behind is one thing. Not knowing how to catch up is something else entirely. And that's exactly where some teams are right now. But here's where the tension rises. Because when teams cannot replicate something, they try another route. They challenge it. Through the FIA. Through technical questions. Through clarifications. Not accusations. Not directly. But carefully. Strategically. And if enough questions are raised, the FIA is forced to respond. Sometimes with a clarification. Sometimes with a directive. And sometimes, with a restriction. That's how these battles are fought. Not on track, but behind the scenes. And if Mercedes' system is as powerful as it looks, it's only a matter of time before that pressure builds. But here's the twist. Mercedes knows this. They've seen it before. They understand how the game works. So if they've introduced something this effective, they've likely protected it. Legally, technically, carefully within the regulations. Because you don't dominate like this? By accident. You do it by being one step ahead and staying there. But now comes the real turning point. Because the longer this continues, the more the championship starts to shift. Not gradually. Decisively. 3 races. 3 wins. A growing gap in points. That's not a fight anymore. That's control. And when a team reaches that level, the rest of the season starts to change. Strategies become desperate. Updates become aggressive. Risks increase. Mistakes follow. And that's when the gap grows even more. Because dominance in Formula 1 feeds itself. But here's the part that truly changes everything. If Mercedes has solved energy management, then they haven't just improved performance. They've removed a limitation. One of the biggest limitations in modern Formula 1. And once a limitation disappears, you don't go back. You move forward. And everyone else has to catch up. Or fall behind. But now, everything leads to one final question. The one that defines this entire story. Is this the new standard? Or is this a loophole waiting to be closed? Because if it's the new standard, then Mercedes is not just leading the championship. They are defining the future of Formula 1. But if it's a loophole, then what we are watching right now is only temporary. A moment. A window. Before the rules catch up. And history tells us, that moment always comes. The only question is, when? Because until that happens, Mercedes will keep doing the same thing. Winning. Controlling. Dominating. And making every other team wonder what exactly they are missing.